blah blah blah, and then 6:45, blah 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 blah, and 7 o'clock, blah blah, and I'm like, oh, I gotta leave in just a minute.
Yeah, Jen had an open house tonight too.
And then 7:10, I just bounced. I'm like, I don't care what class this is, I gotta go.
They still have that in junior high?
Yeah.
I thought they just had it for little kids.
How frustrating that this isn't working for her.
Well, that's how I felt. It wasn't working for me.
She says, I'm not sure why it's not working. Can you try a different web browser? I don't know what it is with the Twitter client, the official Twitter client, but that thing sucks. They use Tweetbot.
Pros and cons.
But it sucks. It never wants to do what it needs to do.
Nothing does everything I need it to do, so I use a lot of things.
Yeah. This is why on WaterCooler we set up half an hour early.
I know.
Just to make sure, but I'm also like, you know, wrangling cats, so.
I mean, people are nice.
Yeah.
I'm chatting with them.
Yeah, and they're going to have to jump out of that chat and back into another one.
Oh, really?
If they refresh the page, they'll get a new, because the URL changed and everything on the site, on the page.
So it changes the live chat?
Yeah, it changes all of it. It's unfortunate, but that's the only way I can get this thing to work.
Okay.
So if you just tell them to refresh their browser, that it should, they should end up in like a new thing. The second she hops on, hit the go button. Because I'll tell you right now, I am not going to talk about WordPress security without a security person.
Yeah, no way. It's too, yeah. I know zero about it, except I know that there's enough to be afraid of.
Well, weird. A whole bunch of people in North Carolina just claimed that they were
safe.
That they're safe. Yeah.
From the riots or whatever.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know what else to do for her because this thing's not.
I mean, how does it make the URL? Can you just invite her again with another email address? Does she have another Gmail address?
It's not really email. Yeah, we're just using the email to send the link.
Oh. Because when I clicked on it, it asked me what Gmail I wanted to sign into.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does do that. I didn't know
if it mattered. Because I got like 4 just to make my life super complicated.
Same here. Each domain name has both a Gmail account as well as, oh, I restarted the computer, it's still the same thing.
Oh, man.
Which link was the one you sent that allowed me the last time?
Do you think it's not copying correctly? Do you need to shorten it or something?
Well, I did that. Well, there's those parameters that are at the end, and if you take out the last two of them, one's like the language, and the other one's
And
like
the
if
author.
if you take those out, it fixes it. Problem is I'm talking to her through Twitter, and who knows if Twitter's jacking up the URLs or doing something
Right.
weird.
That's what I was thinking. Well, she gave me her email address.
Yeah, I have that too. So I've sent her a few different links, but
Crystal at Sucuri.net.
yeah.
Yes. Are we okay?
Yes!
Oh,
Awesome.
man. I feel like the internet hates us tonight.
Totally.
It's because of security. Some hacker made it really hard when we went on air.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was just
What a
like,
trooper.
what is happening? And, you know, I just don't give up.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you don't, because
It's a perfect guest for the show. You have to really want to be on it.
No
Goodness.
doubt. All right.
Well, that was a fun experience.
That was a fun experience.
Press go before Google changes their mind.
All right, so I'm going to hit the go button. What we'll do is, it's real quick. Bridget and I will just introduce ourselves, and then we'll introduce you, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, here we go, hitting the go button. Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler's WPblab. It's episode number 140. No, it's 45. It's only 45. Oh my gosh, I thought it was 100. I thought it was 200. Crazy, crazy. So it's been a crazy day today. We've had a lot of fun issues with Google Hangouts and whatnot. So today we're going to be talking about securing your WordPress site with some awesome security tools. We brought over someone who talks about and does a lot of stuff with security tools and works at a security company, which is Sucuri, correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
Awesome. And we got Bridget. Bridget, how's it going, Bridget?
It's going great. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Woohoo! Man, today was an interesting day of trying to get this thing working. I think Google kind of did its switch over or made its changes or did something because I didn't have a start button. So we had to end up blowing out the whole show and restarting all over again. So hopefully you guys are watching this at home. So let's get to the topic at hand here and introduce our guest. So Crystal, tell us about you. Tell us about what you do and how long you've been working over there.
Sure. So my name is Crystal Herbranson. I work as the Director of Sales at Sucuri. I've been here for just under 3 years. So it's been an exciting time for me. Done quite a bit while I've been here. So started off, brought on as an administrative / HR manager, and throughout that time got to bring on quite a bit of people, and we were able to grow what the chat support is for Sucuri and what it is today. So the little box that pops up on the screen that you see where everybody's able to come and get help, that's been a project that we've been working on, so that not only is it a sales tool, but it's also working its way into the support side. So I get to work with a lot of customers that are currently infected, that are upset, that are frantic, that don't know what to do. Some of them have the means that can, employ people such as us to help them get that cleaned up. Something. You need to have something installed. If you can't pay for a protective firewall, if that's not within the means of the budget, we totally get that. And there are things that you can absolutely do that cost very little. There's tons of free plugins. I think that you want to vet your plugins. That happens not just with your security plugins, but with anything that you put on your website. How long ago has it been since they updated? What's the latest, and who's actually monitoring and actively engaging in the forum that's associated with your plugin? What type of support is related to it? What's the reputation of that particular company? When you go to their, what type of research are they doing? What else are they adding to the space? What are they giving back? It kind of is what I would say is that is what WordPress is all about, is giving back to the community. And I think that you can think that same and have that same aspect when you look at your plugins is what are they doing? What are they doing for us as a community?
And can they actually be used together? Well, and can these plugins be used together, and have they been used together in the past? Like, is it a popular combination to have this and this? Just like I was saying earlier, that you could end up having too many security plugins installed on your site, and then you're like, I can't even log into my own website, and then you realize that one triggered the other, and now they're just fighting over are you allowed to log in or not? So, that happened with you go log in somebody's site and they have 6 different captchas. You have to figure out if this thing's a dog or a cat, and if this one is somebody's street address, and then, what's this weird alien, language that's on there, and all those that you got to sit there and figure out, how do I log into my website? So,
yes.
So one of the things I like about what you guys do for once a site's hacked, they can, they could, go onto your site, they can sign up and say, my site's hacked, can you help me out? You pay the fee for it, which is totally worth it in terms of getting your site up and running again, and also kind of set up what needs to be done to have it hopefully not happen again. Those are the things that, when somebody calls me up and says, hey, I'm having a problem with my website, and they're not a customer, but they're just like a friend, or if they're just a coworker or whatever, I'm having problems with my website, this thing's broken. Somebody hacked it, a bunch of spam stuff's happening. What do I do? The first thing I do is you need to go over to this website and then sign up for do a scan for free, and then sign up for their service and have them, clean out your site. How many of those do you guys do? You guys must do a zillion of those a day, right?
So we clean anywhere between 400 and 500 websites a day on average.
Wow, a day?
A day, yeah. I mean, so
wow.
Google is a beast. They blacklist, 10,000 plus websites a day. And so, yes, about 400 to 500 websites per day that we actively engage with to try and get them out of their hole. And obviously the type of infection varies from site to site. And so some are very easy or much quicker to remediate. Some of them take a long amount of time. Sometimes our guys are super excited for those ones. The ones that really get us, that it's a detective, work where they have to try to pinpoint where is that particular piece of code and where is it, regenerating from, and all these different things. But that is also why cleaning your own website can be very tricky. And we do get people that spend hours, sometimes entire weekends or a week, maybe longer, trying to investigate. And it can become very overwhelming when you're trying to locate it, locate the problem, understand the different variations that exist. And so if you do have to do it yourself, within at least within our plugin, you can run the tools even after you're infected. And it can pinpoint at least areas within your code that potentially are flagging some sort of errors, and that can assist. But also you have to understand code, so it's kind of it's not a DIY job, and that's the unfortunate part, is that an infection and a compromise can impact anyone. So it can be your grandpa who just puts up his pictures from his vacation. And to have to then walk that person through the process, a lot of times people throw their hands up. And so that's why backups are really, they should be your best friend, and you should treat them with such care that they're in a locked vault somewhere where nobody can touch them. I can't stress enough how valuable a backup is. It seems so simple, but truly it can save you in those times where you can pinpoint the time at which it happened, and you can then revert back to that version. But you can't rely solely on your host to provide those things. You have to be diligent, because your backups may also be stored within the same area where there are potential infections or points of interest. So, it gets to be very tricky, and that's the part of security that that gets in the weeds, and when we start talking, then they're just like, it's a rabbit hole, cross-site contamination.
Or I've even seen it where the person thinks that their backup is clean because, you know, I have a backup. I backed up my site. My site's been backing up for years now. I can go back 6 months and go restore that thing. Come to find out that, you know, their site got hacked day 2 and all those backups are now infected. So they can revert back. That's great. But you may just be reverting back your content and not, you know, all of the extra little post meta and all the other stuff that gets, you know, pulled into WordPress. So that's the tricky part about these hacks. And, you know, I read Tony's blog and really look at seeing what things he's posting over there about these different hacks that are occurring and how they spread from one content management system to another content management system to a library that JavaScript is using to a library that jQuery is using to some plugin that WordPress is using. MySQL has some kind of weird something or another. PHP's messed up. Apache's messed up. You know, there's all these layers of this thing that makes your website actually work. And people don't realize that. People just think, oh, well, it's just a website. I mean, what is it? Just a bunch of HTML files and that's it, right? And you're like, whoa, HTML. No. There's way more stuff going on here than just static content. There's dynamic stuff that's happening here, talking to databases, talking to third-party tools. All that stuff is making this happen.
But the thing about it is that the web is now so simple. How hard a 5-minute WordPress install, get yourself hosted in an instant. Like everything is so simple, or at least it looks so simple. And so people don't understand the true complexities of, you know, what are the different variations of your hosting environment. Oh, I don't know, I just pay $3.99. I mean, it's just a website. I just need I just need it online. And so that's where the education. I mean, it's a fun job. I always wanted to be a teacher. I truly did. My mom is. And so I love when I get to educate people. Well, let's talk about that website. How many other websites do you have? 25. Awesome. So all 25 are just situated in that one account, just like parked right there. So what happens if good old number 23 has Ref Slider plugin installed, and then all the other ones now share that lovely risk. So it gets to be fun. We try and make the conversation light, and we try and make it very, I mean, the words are complex. A lot of times it's not an easy deliverable to tell someone this is what has happened. Right. But we do try and make the complex simple for people so that they can really feel at ease. It is, I mean, when people do come to us and they're handing over the credentials to their website, they're allowing us to go and clean it. There's already that sense of like, I've been compromised, what level of trust? And so it's important that when they do look to a company to do the work on their website, that they're reading reviews, checking out social, what is surrounding that company. Did a friend tell you about it? Do you know people that have used the service before? There's a lot of times where people get burned by companies that promise or overpromise and somewhat underdeliver. And so that can be, and a lot of times we get those people when they've kind of gotten down that road. But it is great when we can kind of give them back the peace of mind that they came looking for when they started the journey of trying to get their site cleaned.
Definitely. I'm looking in our chat room. I'm not sure if you have our chat room opened or not. I'll put it in our little private chat. If you go click the little blue link in the upper left-hand corner, Crystal, you'll be able to see oops, that is not the link. So you'll be able to just open this up just so you can open up a little small window, throw it off to the side of the screen, and you'll be able to kind of see what the public chat's going. So one of the people in the chat, this is always the thing that people want to ask. And it's kind of a sticky situation here because it's like you don't want to just like start saying, oh, this web host sucks and this web host sucks and this web host sucks. But when you're looking for web hosts, what are the things that you should be looking at that, because sometimes it's just the web host, sometimes it's a bad neighbor, sometimes it's a bad, other customer that's on the same server as you. what should people look for in determining if a particular host is more vulnerable than others, and what should they be asking? What are those questions that they should be asking?
So great question, and we do get it quite often. I think that understanding your hosting environment as well as what the extent of your host responsibility for your security of your website is very important. So the way that a host operates is, it should be, one, you shouldn't be kind of looking for the do all, be all, end alls. And so by that I mean is like, you'll get I'm Crystal Herbranson and I've got the jack of all trades, company. I'm going to host your website. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to, develop it. I'm going to do your marketing for you. Like, you don't even have to be a business owner because I've got you covered. Those are the ones that's where it gets complicated, because you're essentially handing over the keys to your website to not necessarily a true host. There's a lot that hosts do to protect their infrastructure. And so it's important that we note that host's job is to ensure that your website is accessible to the internet. And so what that means is that they have to allow traffic through those ports, HTTP or HTTPS. The goal is to allow people to your website. And so obviously not implementing some sort of firewall, yes, that exists, but those are usually local and network firewalls that are protecting the actual host environment. And so a lot of times customers get a bit confused about that. And so you have to understand that there are firewalls that exist at the application layer. And so that's your website. Your website is an application of the internet. And so some hosts will provide you the option of your own very own website firewall, your application layer firewall, but typically that's not a common thing. And so what you need to look for in a host is, one, understand if you're in a shared environment, how you're managing and isolating your sites within your shared accounts. So it's not a bad thing to have a shared hosting account, and there are plenty of people that's where it exists. You haven't really ventured down the path of virtual private or dedicated, and obviously the best solution is dedicated, but that's not feasible to all, and that should be recognized. But what you can do is limit your existing risk. And so practice the goal of isolation. Isolate dev sites, isolate productions, isolate. When you have a site that's important to you, isolate that from the ones that you're maybe not paying as much attention to, but ensure that you know what exists within your account. If you are able to get to a virtual private, do the same there. Just because you're now in that type of realm doesn't mean you can be willy-nilly and have just all your stuff stored up in one instance. But in terms of hosts being vulnerable, I see that was kind of the question.
Yeah.
You would want to ask your hosts, what are you currently doing to protect yourselves? What do they do to protect their networks? And that would be the question to ask them, not how are they protecting your particular website, but rather how are they protecting their infrastructure, their website as a whole? How do they ensure that they're online, that their stuff doesn't go down, that they don't become infected? There's a lot to be said about hosts. I think that the customer service is kind of key to that.
Definitely.
There's a lot to be said about the level of engagement and support that can be had from your hosts. And so I think that's something that would be very important to me is the customer service that exists from them.
Bridget, when you were starting out with your sites, what were the things that you were looking at in terms of backing up and in terms of doing any type of, did you ever have your website hacked?
No. I'm using Updraft Plus, which I told you, and Desktop Server said last night, our meetup, that they make 3 zip files. So you can't just, I have them and they're in my Dropbox.
Yeah.
And they happen every day and they're in my Dropbox, but they're not all together,
Right.
So I've never restored from a backup. and I know that's bad. Like, I shouldn't even be allowed to be on a show with you yet, still. Because I know that's your, like, number one thing. If you've never restored, you don't have a backup.
You don't have a backup if you haven't restored. Yeah, exactly.
My 2 sites are on SiteGround, and they send me these clean alert things. I'm on the Go Geek plan. To me, it's like it's more like faith, because I don't know. Well, first of all, I'm not really collecting information, but do have a commenting section.
Yeah,
but
there you go. See,
which
that's
is run by Postmatic, but still,
right.
It's still, I know, like, I understand that, like, the more tenants that are in the shared hosting, like, all you need is one lady to move in, and the whole building has cockroaches. Like, I understand that. I lived in apartments my whole life, and that literally happened to us. One lady moved in. We were all fine. That's it. The whole building's infested because they get everywhere. They go in between stuff and everything. I mean, that was, like, 5 years ago, and we've been fine,
Sure.
right? But that was an epidemic, right? So I understand that.
Love that. That is
that's
example.
totally what happens in shared hosting too. Is that especially when the share, like when your account. So like when your account's set up on the web server, it could be set up so that your one login has access to all of your websites. So it's almost as if all those are one big website, because the files can look at each other. They can scan all the different directories that are in there and go, oh look, there's all these other domain names that are hosted this one account.
You're login to your cPanel, or you're login to each admin?
So like the FTP, let's just like, we'll simplify it. So like in FTP, they could look at your account and see that your account is running on the web server for that domain name and all the other domain names that are on there. So for instance, if you're using, well, it's not bad. It's just that you need to be careful in the way you go about it.
What Crystal means about isolating?
Exactly.
We love isolation.
Because I like the concept. I just don't get how it works. Because like with the Go Geek plan, for example, I mean, I'm wearing my Media Temple shirt, but I love SiteGround too. So like, I just love everybody, right? We're just one big happy family in WordPress.
Right.
But you can just keep adding domains. So that doesn't sound isolated to me.
No.
It's not at all.
Like, so I should just, so that Go Geek plan isn't really helping me. I really should just make new accounts.
Whoa, let's scroll back.
We're not bashing on the fact that they go about it that way.
Like, I don't understand. So, like, how do I make sure? How does a person who has a Go Geek plan that isn't really a geek,
right,
understand how to isolate?
Yeah. So it depends on the host. So for instance, for many years, I've been a customer of DreamHost. And DreamHost has the ability to assign a new user per account. And then on top of it, click a little checkbox or do something that says, like, make sure that this thing's secured from all the rest of the sites that are on your account, which is just amazing because, for one, they built their own control panel. So they're not using cPanel, the branded cPanel. They're using their own. So by doing that, now all of my sites are isolated. That's great. But anytime you're doing security, you're also making it harder for yourself. So now you can't just jump around between different directories on your FTP and go, oh, I'm going to fix this over here, and I'm going to fix this over there. Now I got to log out and log back in again. The more doors you set up for yourself, the more doors you're setting up for the bad guys as well.
So can I ask a question?
Please.
Like, I feel a little bit afraid now. So I superly love Managed WP, and I have their plugin on all 3 of my sites.
Sure.
And it syncs them, and it does the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It updates everything for me. Is that like a big risk? Is that exposure?
Okay, so yeah, so
one plugin across.
Great question. And this is what I meant about vetting. You need to vet the companies that you work with and for and all that good stuff. But absolutely, anytime you introduce a third party, so even let's say you're using the Google Ad Network, for example, that's a third party entity or different ad networks that you're allowing to then post onto your website. If those networks, and this is a big one, this is malvertising, are distributing malware, your site will then be, flagged by Google as a malware distributing engine. And thus, the only thing you can do is remove that third party from your site. So that's why anytime that you integrate third party tools, so themes, plugins, extensions, connections to your site, you have to be on top of them. You have to make sure that's, Managed WP, great company. Like, as long as you know about the things that you're putting into place, you're not just like, jack of all plugins, I need something to do everything for me. Download it, turn it on, download it, turn it on. And there's plenty of people that just leave tons of plugins, maybe not activated, but just within your dashboard. Get rid of those. Do some house cleaning. It's spring was in the past, but hey, it's fall. Let's clean it out.
If it's not active and you're not using it, delete it.
Delete it. Get it off there. I do see that somebody asked a question about, can we go in more depth about what Google will be doing to differentiate between not secure sites and secure sites in 2017? So.
Well, that's a little one. You should be able to get through this in like 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, totally. Essentially, the move towards having SSL on sites is now. We're in the moment, and that's what they're talking about. So if you don't already have an SSL on your site, or if you haven't made that move, please do. Let's Encrypt is a fantastic option. There's a lot of things that you can do. A number of the security providers, like any of our plans, include an SSL, or at least if you haven't purchased one, we will encrypt from your visitors to your site. So just be sure that that's what they're talking about, is that Google will start flagging your site as insecure if you don't have that lovely, SSL little lock.
Yep.
So that's what they're talking about, and it's an affordable thing. You can easily, I think there's a couple people in here saying that, DreamHost offers it very easily. Cloudflare, a lot of the security providers, it's already it's part of the package. Typically, is to get that included.
Yeah. And especially if you're using your guys' the website firewall, you can also do SSL on top of that just by flipping a switch kind of thing. Because what ends up happening with that, and you were kind of going into this earlier, is that you can essentially you're putting a firewall between you and the rest of the world. So, for instance, if you run a site that's, especially nowadays, especially in the last couple months here and leading into the next couple months, of a political site, big, huge political site, and you have a bunch of people that really hate, whatever it is, you're picking the red team or the blue team or the yellow team or the green team, or I don't know, whatever's going on there. I don't watch sports, but you end up having all of these different things that are going on, and everyone hates everybody. But now you have all these people that are, armchair hacker kind of folks that are just script kiddies. They're like, oh, I'm just going to go hack your website. What they'll end up doing is doing denial of service attacks. And I myself actually host a site, have a site that's hosted over on Pagely that we're actually using your firewall to be able to kind of block from all of those denial of service attacks. So, for fun, you turn it off and you watch it, and you're like, oh, the site just went down. And you turn it back on again, and you're like, oh, they're actually doing their job. Who knew?
It is, the denial of service attacks, they're up. That's the goal is just to obviously take down websites. The thing to understand is that not all attacks on the internet are targeted. It's not like they're going after, Jason in particular, I need to get his website down, but rather they're just looking to build bot armies. And so the easiest way to do so is to attack the biggest player in the market, which are WordPress websites, because there are so many of them, and they make up the great majority of the internet. I think a lot of people ask that question. Well, is is WordPress secure? What should I do? This, that, the other thing. Absolutely. Core is totally secure. There are a team of people that are dedicated to ensuring that. There's a lot to be said about the movement and the ideals that are changing within the community towards being secure. I can say that as a community, being up to date, or at least in the current version, I think it's like 80% that WordPress is in. You can't say that about other CMSs. So I think that that's due in part to a lot of what the community has currently done. Hosting providers have also deployed different things to auto update. That could be good, that could be bad. It has different ramifications. And so I think that ultimately no technology can solve it all, and it does come down to the person that owns the website, and that you have to be responsible. You have to be a responsible website owner.
Good neighbor.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the neighbor could move in with the cockroaches, and next thing you know, you got to get out of town. So, and sometimes, fumigate the building, and that sometimes costs a lot of money. So.
And that kind of brings up an interesting point with that, because if you have a bunch of good neighbors, and good neighbors being somebody who's not doing something bad or is having something bad being done to them, you could have a website that you're on shared hosting, which means that you're on one physical server with multiple websites that are all being hosted on it. It could be a virtual server. Let's just say it's a physical box, just for simplicity's sake. You could have a website that gets installed on there that's just fine, no big deal. Another website gets installed, and a ton of traffic goes to that site. Now, if the web host hasn't set up their servers properly, it could essentially take over all of the resources for that web server to be able to make, have the websites actually be, or have the visitors be able to access those sites. And that in itself could be not a denial of service attack, but just a denial of service. It's just you're having too many people that are going to that site. That's when you become a bad neighbor yourself, because that site, even though you're super duper popular, that site is actually getting way too much traffic for something that is such a small server to be able to deal with it. Think of it like having a wedding at your apartment complex, and every single person shows up, all 300 people show up to this, and there's one door, and that one door leads out to, the freeway, the internet. That one door is getting slammed with all those people trying to get in and out, in and out, in and out, while you still have your neighbors trying to get in and out to, go do stuff as well.
Or a backyard wedding, and there's one bathroom.
That's
all
true
understand.
Too. So that's the part where it's like if the web hosts are being, if they're slumlords in a way where they just have way too many people all in that same server and they're not moving anybody, they're just like, you're fine. That's a red flag. That's definitely something that you should be looking at, because what ends up happening is that site could just have tons of people going to it, but it could also happen as a denial of service, and people could just be beating down that server.
Yep. And
you're like, what's wrong with my stuff?
So you just described my entire neighborhood. If I get home too late, I'm parking 2 blocks down the road.
That doesn't happen in Orange County. Are you kidding me? Oh, man. All right. So maybe it does.
It got cleaned up, though, because there was like 10 people in one apartment, in a 1-bedroom apartment.
I live in LA County, so I have nothing to complain about. It's a totally different thing.
But so that's why that analogy resonates with me.
Yeah, totally.
It speaks to my being.
Yeah, because it could be a bad thing having the wrong types of sites running on one of those servers, and you're just like,
drug dealers.
Wow.
Or drug dealers, yes.
Like, I am totally understanding this now, because I'm relating it to things
think of those nefarious sites as the
nefarious.
Ooh,
that's a good word.
Into town.
And that's why having a virtual private server is great, because you essentially are opening up your own apartment complex, and you can make the units as big as you want, and you can put as much stuff as you want in there, and you yourself are the one that is to blame if something bad happens to your server.
Yep. And you're Airbnb-ing your second bedroom out to like a party, people who think they're going to party down at Dana Point.
So we've talked a lot about like the lower end side of things, the cheaper solutions. Now let's talk about like more. I have say, 30-40 bucks I want to spend a month on hosting, maybe even $100 a month on hosting. There's some benefits because I know that you guys have partnered with other web hosts that are out there. I'm not sure if you're able to talk about those or not, but that there are web hosts that are out there that have either partnered with you or partnered with your competitors that provide additional services on top of the service that they're getting just as a web host.
Yep, absolutely. So yes, we definitely are partnered with a few of the players in the market, or the bigger names. So yep. Like SiteGround, for instance, they do run our scans on all. So those lovely scans that you're talking about.
Oh, that's you. That's great.
Our scans. So, and then obviously WP Engine is a big partner of ours that we do a lot with, and some of the other hosting players use our monitoring tool. And so one thing to note is that you need to understand what you're being provided. I think that a lot of times people hear the word, and here's security provided. Sometimes it's included in your package, security. But there's multiple different layers of security. So there's monitoring, which is obviously, detecting. One, you can monitor something and never detect, but you need to monitor for detection purposes, obviously. So you can monitor your site to be alerted to particular anomalies in the code and changes to things. And that is a reactive position to take, which is what a lot of people do. And then there's also the proactive approach. And so that's adding a layer of protection or some way of which you are safe netting yourself. And that's with that web application firewall. And so there are a number of hosts that you can purchase these types of services directly through them. I'm obviously a big fan of Sucuri's.
Wait, are you saying that you have a bias? Are you kidding me?
But I mean, what I can say is that I've got to spend a fabulous 3 years learning kind of the inside of what a security company does. And I think that when you are looking for a security company, there are things that you can do. Just like when you're looking for your hosting company, is you understand what is the level of their knowledge, and that can be done through blog posts, that can be done through speaking engagements, that can be done through a number of things. Disclosures, what have you. And I can say that through our blog is very much, or started very much as an informational piece way back in 2010. So it's been in existence since we started, and it was meant to, one, provide people that were a bit more technical, the instructions to be able to, understand, one, what's happening with websites. And so the blog has evolved. You will find things that will speak to a regular individual, and then you will also find things in there that are a bit code heavy. But I think that when you're looking at that security provider, look at the research that they do. You need to think about also that level of customer service. I talked big about customer service, but that's very important in times of need. So you want to understand what is that level of engagement going to look like, and then what are the components of what I'm paying for? A lot of times people purchase and they think it's everything, but what is everything when you know nothing?
Right.
That's the difficult part. And if that salesperson or if that website has not done its job to explain that, that's been an evolution that we at Sucuri have gone through, is listening to the customers. Okay, when we were first had things separated, customers thought that they had everything. Customers thought, well, you cleaned it and you monitor it, so of course you're going to stop it. Well, at the time, no, that's our firewall. You'd also need that service. So it made sense. If customers think they're getting everything, let's give them everything in one solution, and not kind of haphazardly packaged products so that then they have to come back and purchase. That's the worst thing that you ever want to do to someone in a time of crisis, is to make them feel as though you're nickeling and diming them.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh yeah, we're going to clean your site and it's only going to cost XYZ. Oh, well, you know, your website is really complex, and that infection, yeah, you had like 50,000 other pages we needed to scan, so we're going to have to charge you some more. Those types of conversations, it hurts my heart when I think that is something that happens to people, is that you're already into it, and now there's no way, like, you feel like you got to keep going to the end. Like, okay, well, when's the next, like, when are they going to ask for the next payment? Now I'm into it $500. I thought it was only going to be $2. Where am I at? I feel like I have to see this through. And those are hard things to hear, but they do happen. And so do your research on the companies that you're going to work for. If you're going to pay for a solution, make sure that it's something that comes with some form of, you know, satisfaction guarantee. Security is very hard to guarantee.
Right.
Firewall is no guarantee. We can guarantee it will work. We can't guarantee against your password management. We can't guarantee against, you know, where you log in. Are you on a public, you know, Wi-Fi network? Like, we can't control your access. And so all we can do is ensure that what's coming through ports, you know, HTTP and HTTPS, that we know and what is appropriate and what is not appropriate to make it to your site and to your server. So that's kind of my pitch on security providers, is just because it's available within your hosting panel doesn't mean that it's the best option for you. Doesn't mean that it's going to solve what you're currently looking for. You may not be infected. You may just be simply looking for a proactive tool. You can get a firewall for, you know, as little as $10 per month. A lot of times that's kind of the going rate. But yeah, I think that if you have the ability to pay, definitely look and be picky about who you decide to put your money with and put your site with. Think of them as an extension of your team that works on your website. Would you employ these people to work on your website? Yes, no, I don't know. Are they good, upstanding guys? Maybe. You know, I can't stand the people. Maybe not the best people to have working on your site. So that's kind of what I think about it.
What are you thinking, Bridget? You know, when your site is getting bigger and you have way too much stuff going on. Oh, is Bridget frozen? I think she was.
I'm not frozen. I'm just concentrating.
I thought she was frozen. She was frozen.
Sorry.
You froze yourself. So when your site is getting bigger and you're thinking like, what? You know, I always describe this sort of thing to folks where it's like, if you're building, you know, people will complain about how much it costs for their web host. So like, oh, I pay $10 for web hosting. You know, like, are you kidding me? Like a storefront. How much does it cost to open a storefront? You know, let's say you're paying $500, $1,000, $2,000 a month for a storefront, a physical storefront. You still have to put good locks on your doors.
Right.
And if you buy horrible locks and you don't buy a security system and you don't have, you know, you don't pitch in to have the security guy walk back and forth in front of your place, yeah, you're gonna end up with some trouble, right? And so, like, what do you feel, Bridget, is like the level that people should be looking at to start looking into, you know, paying for a service like security stuff? You know, $16 or $17 a month. Not bad, right? Especially when your site's making some money.
Here's the thing.
Right?
If you're selling stuff and revenue is coming in, you should have all of this. Like, end of discussion.
Definitely.
I'm just writing about social media. It's a hobby. And I'm like, why did I say I was even going to publish every Saturday? I say this to myself every Thursday night now. Like, I got nothing, man. I got nothing. Tapped out. I'm maxed out. But it's not. it's not that it's $17 a month. It's $17 a month, and Postmatic is $9 a month, and Hootsuite is $14 a month, and Dropbox is $10 a month, and SiteGround is $250 a year. And once you start, you know, adding this all up, and I don't even have SSL. You're like, what? I know I need it, but then you just start saying like, is BridgetWillard.com even paying for itself? Which we already know the answer is no.
Crystal, come on.
It did give me this job, okay. But beyond the paycheck that I now have,
right?
You know, that's what I'm saying. If you're not selling anything, and all I'm doing is branding and educating,
sure.
At some point, I mean, I am paying for this, so.
So Crystal, what's the answer to that then? What's the answer to the person who's like, I'm just blogging once a week, I'm blogging twice a week?
Yeah.
You know, what's the answer there? I mean, those are the people that are watching this show here. So it's like, what's the answer to that? To
download the Sucuri free plugin. Like, that's the answer. Like, just download the plugin, watch the videos, ensure that you customize your notifications. It can send you when somebody logs in. It can send you when somebody does a post. Like, just get as much visibility around what's happening with your website as you possibly can. And that's what I can speak to what ours does. There's multiple different layers of what ours does, and we try to provide the most comprehensive without, as much as you can get without paying for. I mean, yes, there's other plugins that will provide you some denial of service or brute force type protections, but ultimately just have something that's monitoring like the core integrity file. Like, you need to have some visibility around what's going on with your website, and just have a backup. Like, that's what I would recommend. That's what I would do for us. I mean, hopefully I get to protect all my sites, so you know, it's beneficial. It's a perk.
Can somebody like me do it, or do I need to hire a developer? Like, there was another security thing that was like, oh, you gotta change your DNS records. I'm like, what? That's weird.
Yeah, firewalls
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You can.
Just right word.
You can do this. I believe in you. The plugin is very easy. I promise you. No, yeah, absolutely. We try where it gets a bit complicated is when your site potentially does have some sort of alert. You need to be able to look at the actual piece of code that it spits out and know how to read it. Like, this is the file, this is the directory, this is where I should look, those types of things. As long as you kind of got those basics and you can locate, oh yeah, I added that file, that's me, yay, just, you know.
Yeah, you guys keep adding more and more stuff. Like you mentioned earlier about the file integrity check. It's looking at what core is currently, and it's comparing it to what you have right now, and it's looking to see what things match and what things don't match. And when they don't match, they go, oh, this thing's been changed here. You may want to look into this. You may even want to reinstall WordPress, like on top of itself, just to clean out everything. I love the fact that you guys added that, and your devs just do amazing work with that plugin. Daniel's awesome.
Thank you. We love. I mean, I can't say enough about the plugin. I think that it provides great visibility around a website. Provides easy way to harden your site. I mean, hardening only gets you so far, but it's a great step in the right direction. And so there's lots of great stuff that you can do within that plugin that gives you controls around the security of your site, and it's free, so it's great. And we also, I mean, if your site is infected, we did just put out a guide that will help you and walk you through the steps. So it will hold your hand to try and help you locate and clean that without the need. Because some people, it's true, you're absolutely right, Bridget. Like, it's expensive to have a website.
Yeah,
it's
like
just
a crochet thing.
It's so expensive. It's a fantastically expensive hobby. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Like, I think I was telling my son, yeah, so this is how much it costs to have our house. And he's like, oh, that's a lot of money. It's like, yeah, and then we have to pay to turn the lights on, and then you like that warm water, right? That costs money, and the water coming out of the, there's so much that goes into it. It's not just that single, like, I bought my domain,
Right.
But there's maintenance involved. It is very much like a home, like a brick and mortar business. You have to maintain it. It's just virtual, and I think that's the hard part, is that it's not tangible. You don't touch it, you don't feel it, you don't see yourself building it. You know that there's hours put into it, but you're not like seeing it happen. You see it on the web, but once it's all beautiful, you forget the painstaking hours that you spent like changing this and making sure everything aligned, and my posts and my quotes and my tags and my thumbnails. There's a lot that goes into it, and then to have it kind of be wiped out can be devastating. And so the backup, I think that I'm going to say backups like 18,000 times, but have a backup. I can't tell. I mean, it's so sad when somebody talks to you about, like, this has been my hobby. This has been something that has now turned into a means of revenue. It's what allowed me to quit this shitty job. Like, it's my everything. And then you're like, and so how are you protecting that investment that allows you to have this life? What are you talking about? Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Protect it. I mean, like, I don't know. Like,
I just leave the door open all night. I don't care. Whatever. Just leave the door open. It's okay. Yeah. No one's gonna break in, because they don't have to break in. I left the door open. It's nice and easy.
Yeah, because like it
I know.
Doesn't. Why would anybody want to come after me?
Right.
Yeah. And so I would highly recommend going over to blog.sucuri.net. Go check out the blog there. Check out all the stuff that they post over there. Your writers are constantly writing stuff. There's great information there. And that's the thing, is you want to look at a place that has the right information, and it's not just like, oh, this Target got hacked. It's like, great, Target got hacked, but how does that relate to WordPress? Like, you need to find the sites that relate to the thing that you're using, not CNN or something like that, because those guys are never going to talk about this sort of stuff until it's too late and it's some big, huge, major thing. So looking at the sites that relate to what you do would at least help you know, like, what is it that's going on in the WordPress space, and what is it you should be doing in order to protect yourself.
Love it. You are so smart.
I try. I just couldn't get a hangout to start in the correct amount of time.
We just needed Crystal to like give us affirmations.
Right.
I know.
I believe in you.
I believe.
Oh man.
So Crystal, how did you start out? We only got like 10 more minutes left on this, and so what I'm curious is, where did you start out in doing the type of work that you're doing now, and then where did you start out in the company working your way up? I know you said you were talking about doing HR type stuff and those sorts of things. Does your company also do the sort of stuff where everyone is everyone's like a technician, or everyone's a support person, and they have to kind of work their way through that?
Yeah. So I became introduced to Sucuri through my husband. He worked here previously, and so I mean, like, working remote, I said, damn, this guy's got a pretty nice life. Like, I mean, walks around the house in his sweatpants. Like, I'm waking up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, getting ready, putting on my pantsuit and going to work. This guy is onto something here. And so luckily I got the opportunity to come on board. And at the time, Sucuri was very small. I think maybe I'm employee 23 or right in that mix, and we're now at 100. And so quite a bit of growth that's occurred. And we Tony just created a space for me. And so it's kind of evolved. At the time, I was working on some kind of internal-ish projects. We were obviously growing in size, so it made sense that maybe somebody should be dedicated to the offer letters, to those types of things that happen. And then we had our administrative queue, and so that's kind of the accounts queue. So I worked in billing, but yes, absolutely. In the earlier days, everybody knew how to clean websites. Everybody cleaned websites. There were days where it was all hands on deck. There's, big infections that occurred, and that required us to pull in all resources to be able to provide the level of service that people were expecting. In the current stage that we're in, it's much less of a necessity for every single person. We have definitely grown in size and been able to move things around that scale for the business and allow us to be able to provide that support. However, within the sales team, because we are very much front facing, we do work to ensure that everyone goes through some level of understanding of what the remediation process looks like. So what that cleanup process looks like. A lot of what we do is done through scripts. So understanding that we're running scripts on websites, what PHP is, what servers, what are the different types of servers, how do we engage and work with those things. But yeah, I think I stepped into working in the sales / what would become the sales group after about maybe 4 months. And then it's been a fabulous ride. I think I have onboarded 26 of our 96 or 100 employees.
Wow.
So, and no, we don't have 26 people that work in sales, but we've definitely grown. We've built out a lovely billing team that helps with all of those needs. We have a customer happiness team that is that group that works in the product team that's able to engage with customers that maybe the ticketing system isn't the best thing for them. So we really try to listen to the customers and get them what they like. Direct engagements, phone, you name it. We're trying to be able to please in whatever way we can as we move. But our dedication is to our product line. And so it's to improving the technology, building out our data centers, and we own our own infrastructure. So
that's awesome.
That's something that is really, really cool that I've been able to kind of see happen over the years. It's been really, really a neat time.
Sweet. I love that. I love hearing a story where you start from one spot, you've gone to another spot, you've seen it all at this point, and now you really understand the product that you're selling. And I think there's a lot of sales folks where they don't do that, and they just know the buzzwords to say. So they just keep saying the buzzwords over and over again, and you're like, okay, do you smell that? Do you smell that? I smell that too. It's like that kind of thing. Obviously, I'm not getting that from you at all, because you've gone through and you've seen how all of it works, and I love that. And I love that Bridget found you at a conference totally unrelated to WordPress, yet you were still talking about the same type of stuff with WordPress. And I think it was cool to see that, and cool to see that I've interacted with many of the folks that work over at your company and have used your products for years, and both paid as well as, a little bit on the side here and there. So I appreciate that. So thank you very much for all that you guys do, and that you're protecting the WordPress space. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I know that it was a rough ride getting into the Google Hangout, but I really enjoyed it.
It's all right. No one watches this thing anyhow. We only have like 1.4 million views or something like that, so not too bad. Cool. So where can people find more information about you, the stuff that you're doing, and then the stuff that your company's doing?
So I'm on Twitter. I do try and keep a very secure online profile. Awesome. So there's no Facebook, but I love Instagram, and I'm definitely, Twitter is kind of my place. I retweet a lot of stuff that's kind of in my realm, and I love to read. I'm a lifelong learner, I guess that's what you'll say. So I really love sales, customer service, marketing, but security is really intriguing. It's complex. It requires your brain to kind of think harder when you're reading the material. So yeah, if you want to connect, that's where I'm at. We at Sucuri go to tons of events. We go to so many different events, not just the WordCamps, but we're involved in different CMS communities as well as higher education, e-commerce, just in general, conferences. We go to the WooComps, we go to all sorts of things, but we'll be out there. I think we have a web page that's dedicated to the events that we go to, and as always, we have webinars. So for those people that they can't get out, we have a webinar series, and I think actually next Thursday at 11, we do record all of them, but it's our next one. It's put on by one of our remediation specialists, and he's going to go through the process of identifying and cleaning a hacked website. So pretty cool information, but we try and give back in every way that we can. But our webinars, the topics are brought up by the things that customers tell us. And so whether it be on social or just via email to us, that's kind of where we get our ideas. So we want to put on engaging and useful webinars, not just for us to click the record button, but so that people can really get something from them.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Go over to their websites and go take a look at all the stuff over there. The links will be in the show notes, and you can go down below in the description and click on all that stuff over there. Bridget, we're done. We just did our 45th episode.
Yay!
All right, go over to our website at WPwatercooler.com. Click on the links there to subscribe. You can also, if you're watching this, hit the little thumbs up button, just like what Bridget is doing. Don't click on Bridget's hand because I won't do anything, but definitely go and click on the thumbs up button and do all of that. And if you have any questions, concerns, comments, anything like that, feel free to leave the comments on the site, or you can talk to us over on Twitter. Thank you very much. You have a good rest of your day. Talk to you later.
Bye.